Alrighty. It's Tuesday, October 21st. Wild, wild day yesterday. Another new all-time record high, 67.87. A bit of a sell-off overnight. Kind of coming back up a little bit. I think the story of the day yesterday was probably Apple, right? Apple kind of knocking the cover. Knocking the cover off the ball pretty much, and making a record high, 264, trading right around, I think it closed at 261, but I don't know where is it at, 261 today. But that was really the story of yesterday, and I think that kind of carried everything with it. There's no doubt about it. And, when you look at that kind of move, when you get a move like that in an Apple, it's going to move everything else, right? Apple is such a huge part of all the indexes now. I think it literally is, I want to say it's like close to 20% of the Dow. I believe it's like 5% of the S&P or something, like some kind of crazy, it's some crazy numbers. And then, just incorporate all the other, equity funds and mutual funds and ETFs and everything else. And, when you get a move like that in Apple on a lot of power, right? I mean, it had a lot of momentum. It wasn't like it just kind of, spiked and was like, oh, wow. It had a lot of momentum yesterday. And I really think that is what carried everything to record highs again yesterday, kind of blowing off the top, so to speak. But now you have a number of talking heads out there I see are saying that, hey, this might be the beginning of the end now, right? Now that Apple kind of blew off here. What else is there? I mean, well, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of other earnings that are going to be coming out. I think that's going to have an impact. I think the expectations are pretty high for a lot of these companies. So, that may be a catalyst to the downside where if they don't come in as exorbitant as they expect, there could be some issues. There's that. To me, I don't really, I don't really care. It's fine. I'm happy. I own a bunch of Apple, so I'm happy. I mean, I'm not going to complain. I've never really found a reason to sell Apple in the over 20 years that I've owned it. There's been those spots where, everyone's doubted, but, again, at the end of the day, it's, it's a juggernaut. And, don't let the pundits kind of like talk you out of it. They have developed an ecosystem, and it's pretty rock solid. And when you compare it to what's going on in a lot of other companies, the drama that they say is, so to speak, kind of going on, this kind of proves that, just don't listen to people, As I always say, stick to the big stocks. You can pick a few small ones here and there if you want to play games, but, for the majority of your money, stick with the big stocks. Don't mess around. I mean, it's not worth it, folks. Trust me, it's not worth it trying to find, why are you trying to find the next? I said this to someone yesterday. I was like, why are you trying to find the next Apple, right? Or the next whatever, the next Tesla? It's already there. It's not like you're acting like they went out of business. They're already there. So anyway, all things are good when things go up, right? Everybody's got a good story. Story of yesterday, and I was I was on the fence, and I'm kicking myself this morning, is gold really getting a huge pullback today. I mean, this is actually a pretty big move, probably one of the bigger moves that we've seen in gold to the downside in quite a while. And in a short period of time. And yesterday, to me, it kind of flagged it yesterday. And I'm pissed I didn't do anything. And again, it's, what are you going to do? Hindsight is the greatest trade in the world. But also silver is also taking it on the chin as well today. So I don't know if this is going to continue. I'll be honest. I don't even know if I'm even willing to step in. Just looking at the chart here, I don't even know if I'm even willing to step in as a buying opportunity here. This thing has just gone. I mean, if you just look from here, from 9/1, from September, the move has been just, from 30, literally almost 3,400. It's up 1,000 points from just literally, a little over a month ago. And it's been fast and furious. And I don't know. I don't know if I'd really even feel good stepping into a short here, because there's been so much enthusiasm in this trade. I kind of think you're stepping in front of a freight train either way. So I don't know. I don't know. I never like to do anything to the downside. I don't. Kind of thinking here, just from a trade point of view, looking at the GLD. And I did one of these last week and it didn't turn out. But I'm actually looking at maybe doing a little long trade here on this. Nothing too long term. Maybe I was looking at maybe a week. The 31st looks maybe like a decent amount of time. What is it? 10 days there. Volatility in this is off the hook. And that's the other thing, too, is to be aware of, in that you really haven't seen any real collapse in volatility on this at all. I mean, that's been a rocket ship too. You've had your points here where it's kind of dipped down, but for the most part, volatility hasn't even collapsed in here. I don't know. I mean, kind of doing a little put spread or something here. Maybe the 400. Something small. I'm not going to do anything big. These are all going to be repriced, by the way. These prices are not indicative of what it's done today. But I was contemplating doing something, small in here, just kind of, just to be engaged. Just something to consider, SLV as well, and do I think it'll maybe come back that much with the... I don't know. I've been completely wrong on this trade all along, and I'm not going to think that I'm not going to think now that it's finally kind of, given some back, that I have any idea what's going on. There's a million different theories of why this is doing what it's doing, right? There's it's China, it's this, it's that. No, nobody knows. That's the beautiful thing about the market in general. Nobody knows. Who knows? The people who keep buying it. They know why they're doing it. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Do I get long here? Is this kind of the opportunity? I don't know. I mean, deep down inside, I keep saying to myself, there's no way gold can continue the pace that it's on given the circumstances that are out there. You know, at some point, because my point is at some point, the money dries up, right? This amount of money just can't continue to flow into gold the way it is. Because at some point, that spigot dries up. Unless, of course, they're getting rid of other assets to buy gold. So, again, I don't know. I'm just kind of giving you my little opinion of it. If I was going to do anything here, I would probably likely, lean into some long somewhere, possibly just to see if you get that bounce. Likely you're going to get. There's a lot of people who are short out there gold because they've been waiting for this thing to kind of shit itself for a while. And there you have it. I mean, that's really it. That's my analysis in a nutshell. I really don't even know why to go in any further than that. Because if I do, I'm bullshitting because, I don't know. But it's finally having a pullback. And you can see what's going to happen with this more than likely. It's going to take the elevator shaft down, right? They take the stairs up, but this is actually taking, this is taking the elevator, this is taking the express elevator up. It likely may take the elevator down. And if I was going to throw a number out there, I kind of like 39.57 as maybe a true spot. That would be the true spot that I would look at, for possibly maybe an entry here. You also have 41.96. Right, and all these are, folks, these are just swing lows. These are swing lows on the 4 hour. I like the 4 hour chart when I'm looking for, entries, especially on something like this that's actually run as much as it has. You're going to need to look at a little bit longer time frame because if you look at that shorter time frame, I don't really think you're going to get a good indication of where, I would say rational money is landing. Again, we're all looking at the same charts. I don't care what the indicator is. I don't care. At the end of the day, we're all looking at this 4 hour chart's the same on Thinkorswim as it is on Bloomberg, as it is on, whatever that is called. What is it? TradingView, on Tradeify. It doesn't matter. A 1 hour chart is the same on every other platform. 15 minutes, whatever. It's all the same shit. It's all the same garbage. But anyway, I'm kind of looking at that as saying, maybe those are some spots. I definitely wouldn't want to jump in on here anything serious because this could be the beginning of something a little more fundamentally involved. We really have not had any real major pullbacks in gold in over a month and a half. And so, this may be kind of the relief that maybe some of the bears actually want, or some of the short sellers need to kind of, clean their balance sheets up a little bit. So anyway, that's it. I don't trade gold futures anymore. They're too thin and they suck. I wish I could. I wish I had the stomach and the patience for it. They're way, way too thin for me. Even the micro, there's actually a micro. I always like to look at these. Let's look at this on the there's a micro, the MGC. This is actually even tended to be very thin as well. Nice thing about it is that it's not entirely thin. I mean, 473,000 contracts is nothing to shake a stick out for a micro. That's actually pretty good considering. But I have found that this does have a tendency to. Why did that change? It has a tendency to like really float, especially when you're looking at it on like one of these like active trader type things or these DOMs. You'll see the price action. It literally is just, if you look at it, it's insane. It like moves all over the place, and it's not something that when I see something moving like that, it's not generally something I feel comfortable being in, because I feel completely vulnerable at the point where I'm not really getting, I know I'm getting good price discovery, but I just don't have the fortitude to trade something that moves like this. I like the ES. This is more like gold. Trading gold is more like the NASDAQ. In fact, I probably think it's even a little more volatile than the NASDAQ. And anyone who's been following me long enough knows that when I trade futures, I don't think I'm a traditional real futures trader. I'm one of those people that I use very tight stops. My attitude is I would rather take a trade that I believe in 2, maybe 3 times with a tight stop than be in something and kind of sit there in that trade and then have it have the same result. That's just been my attitude in how I trade futures. And so I don't like to see this level of gyration in a product when I'm trading it. And that's why I tend to stick to the ES these days, because it seems to be the index that does have the most, I would say the least amount of price gyration, and the product itself lends it into being something I can use short, small, tight stops. And that's just it. That's just me. That's my trading style. Nothing I can do. It's just how I've developed doing this. That's why I don't trade the NASDAQ. And gold is kind of in that camp where, look, it's too. That's why if I'm going to trade gold, I'd rather swing it, do a swing trade. One thing I didn't look at, which I probably should, was possibly doing some gold, maybe some gold options. Let's look at that, because the volatility in here is pretty high. But I don't know if I want to even short calls, though. It just seems like a train wreck waiting to happen. Especially on a day where we're down 93. These are all the weeklies. Let's change this. I always like to do the full regular. I usually like to do the regular options, folks, especially in futures, because the weeklies and the shorter term ones tend to be a little illiquid, just in my opinion. And let's see if we go and do something. Let's do November, 34 days. One standard deviation is going to take us all the way down, to 38.95. 38.95. And it looks like, just based on this volatility being at 101, that what's upside here? 46.25. So that's a one standard deviation And I got to do a strangle because, I mean, a iron condor because I just do not have I don't have the capital to do it. I don't have a capital to do anything but. So there's a 1 standard deviation strangle. Now, let's take a look at the curve here. I kind of like this. I kind of like this. This is kind of where this puts you. This is completely delta neutral, almost a 70% pop. Max profit 390. Max loss. Well, the max loss here is a little inflated, I think, and it's because it's futures. It's going to bring in 400, almost $400. I kind of like this trade. I mean, it's a true 1 standard deviation. I'm out 30 days. Volatility is elevated in here. Expected move, I didn't look at that. The expected move in that expiry is what? 277. So we're relatively close in that. I mean, we're definitely like well outside that band on both sides. So it's almost 300 on each side, which is, we're pretty close to the expected move. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to find a trade here in gold on this move, and I'm trying to find something that's not one way or the other. You know, I don't want to just pile in short. I don't want to just pile. What really has me intrigued more than anything is this IV rank at 101. And this continues to stay elevated. So I'm going to kind of throw that one out there. I kind of like that one. And I'll definitely wait till the open to put this one on. I'm not going to do it now in the pre-market. But I like that one. All right, and so that's the 38.95, 38.90, 46.50, 46.25. Why is that so? Oh, you know why? That makes sense. I'm not even paying attention. So that is why. So the contracts that they have on the upside here are kind of wide. Yeah, they're $25 wide up there. That's where the buying power gets a hit. That kind of sucks. But anyway, even still, I kind of like it. I like it. So anyway, I'll throw that one out there. And then that leads me to do like a GLD trade. I would probably do something similar where I'm just selling volatility. I'm likely going to get wrecked in these because these trades just have not worked. They have not worked at all in this. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to do things. And you really can't do a strangle in here. So if you did a 366, the margins in here always suck. You're out to a 440. Expected move is $28, so you're well outside of that. You'd need to do a 445. And then here, let's stick to the round numbers. It doesn't matter. There's enough interest here. So it would bring us to the 61. That's not a bad little trade either. Now, I don't know. Again, this is going to get repriced. But I kind of like that one as well. And that's more of a, this is using the ETF. I do not have the buying power to do a strangle. I mean, I would love to be able to do a strangle in here. I just don't. I think the buying power in here is going to be a what, $5,000? Yeah, 5,000. I mean, I could. I have the buying power to do it. I don't know if I'd want to just use $5,000 worth of capital. I don't think I want to use $5,000 worth of capital though in a trade. Like, to me that's really the issue. It's just I don't want to use that kind of money. So anyway, if you have either way, I still think it's a pretty decent one. So we're going to look into that one as well. And then I'm going to look at silver. A little different trades than you're probably most used to seeing, because you're always used to seeing people just buying calls or buying options. It's not an option. I just don't, if I'm going to buy stuff, I just buy it. I just buy the options, right? I mean, if volatility is low, I'm just going to buy them. I don't mess around usually. But in this case, I don't know if it's really worth being directional, because being directional, unless you were long, you got your face ripped off. And a 1 standard deviation in here doesn't even look like it's really paying. I'd have to do the 40.5, 55. Margin in here is pretty good. I'm actually surprised. I thought it would be worse. I thought it would be a lot worse. I mean, it's hard to borrow, so there's a lot of short interest on here. So that's a 1 standard D for the SLV. Good buying power on this. This is actually a little delta positive trade. 75% pop. An expected move, I didn't look. Expected move is $5. So we're well outside of the $5 on both sides. Close on the bottom side, So, but these are going to get repriced, so I can't even really go by this. All right, then the other story yesterday was CLF. CLF. Yeah, with CLF, had earnings, stock kind of went nuts. I've had this stock forever. I want to say I must have had this stock for at least 20 years. Had to have. I still have it, and I must have had it forever. And I think my cost basis is up there. I bought this when this thing was like $50 and $60. So, and I just never got rid of it. Anyway, that was kind of, and then they made an announcement that they're going to do rare earth. Whatever, right? I mean, you want to save your stock? Just talk about rare earth or AI, right? If you're in the mining business, talk about rare earth. And if you're in the technology business, or even if you're not, just mention AI, right? And that'll save your, oh my God, right? So anyway, that one really took off yesterday. But the problem is there really was nothing to do. You got no real movement on volatility, right? It's still kind of within that normal range or that average. I thought there was another, let's see, high, low. I thought there was an average. I guess not. I thought there was an average, but I guess there's not. There used to be, I think. I don't know why. I always thought there was an average. Anyway, this thing is running right in around its average. And there's really nothing in here that I feel like I would want to do anyway. Kind of had its run yesterday. I don't know if it's really going to be sustainable or not. And that's about the size of it. So anyway, that's kind of, yeah, there's so no there on that. Let's take a look at the earnings. Let's take a look at the earnings. I think there's a couple tonight. 10:21. No, not going to do Coke. These are before the bell. Not going to do Lockheed. They're due out. After the bell, Netflix. Let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix expected move is 116 in November. Problem with this stock, though, is again, I always say it. Like, I mean, I look at the open interest up and down. They killed it. They killed the open interest stock. They killed this stock as a trading vehicle. It used to be so good to trade, but now the problem is the problem with it. And it's kind of getting into that same state all those other big stocks are getting into. It's price. It's too high price. They need to get rid of, it's $1,200. They need to get rid of that. They need to split. Do a 5 for, we want to keep the price high, do a 5 for 1 or something, or 6 for 1 or something. But you need to split it because it sucks. You can't trade this anymore. It's kind of a dead asset. Because I used to love trading this stock when it was 400 or 500, and even when after they did their big split, what was it, a couple of years ago, they pumped new life into it. Now it's dead. I mean, look it up and down the option chain. It sucks. There's like nobody trading this thing anymore. I mean, it totally sucks. So I mean, I don't know what I don't even know what I would do. I have to do an iron condor. They're $20 wide out where I want to be. I mean, to do anything like that's decent, I'm going to have to go in here. I'm going to have to go inside the expected move. And I'm sure it's going to be the same way out on the other side. Yeah, these are $20 wide out here. So I can't even do anything there. And I'm not going to do anything in the weeklies, folks. I'm just not. I can't stand doing the weeklies because I feel like they're not even like the statistics and everything else. I just feel like are all screwed up on the weeklies as well because everything's based on the monthly. Like let's say I did the 31st ones. I mean, even looking up and down this option chain, there's literally nothing, no strike in here that has over 1,000 contracts. It's like, no, it's like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. No liquidity at all. They've ruined this stock. So I can't even play earnings. I wouldn't even do anything here. Plus, IV rank of 35 takes you completely out of the game. So that's a bust. And then as far as tomorrow morning, there's really nothing either here tomorrow morning. I'm going to have to wait for tomorrow night. Basically got Tesla. Tesla's always has good volume up and down the option chain. So that's it. That's it. No earnings at all. They all suck. So there you have it. A bunch of stuff on gold and silver, possibly today for sure, given this pretty hefty sell-off. I mean, we're down now 117, 118. So this sell-off is definitely accelerating. I haven't seen any. There's nothing on the tape, right, that would indicate. I haven't seen anything, or any headline of what. Again, it's just it's just market forces. The thing's was at all-time highs, and I guess what usually happens after something hits the all-time high, it crashes. So anyway, that's it.